African Youth Foundation, AYGF, in collaboration with the International Alert and International Organization for Migration, is calling on the government to put strategic investments in job creation, skills acquisition and essential infrastructure development for youth. At the press conference to mark 2023 International Youth Day, the director AYGF, Dr. Arome Salifu, said this would help nurture an environment where the potential of the youth can flourish and effectively address youth unemployment and end mass migration. Contributors at the event say effort is being made to collate data to ascertain the youth concerns as the new government sets its agenda.
Not passive observers. They actively seek participation in policy formulation and decision-making processes that drive both personal and communal progress. Unfortunately, these aspirations often encounter barriers that prevent their involvement, despite their undeniable relevance. The new government at all levels, federal and the state inclusive, holds a pivotal role in spearheading a comprehensive drive to drastically reduce the pressing challenges of youth unemployment, mass migration, youth poverty, and the exclusion of young voices from the policy-making processes. By actively involving the youth in policy formulation, the government can tap into a wellspring of innovative ideas and fresh perspectives, thus shaping a narrative that resonates deeply with the aspiration of our society.
International Alert has been able to create platforms for young people in the Northeast, in Yobe State, Borno State, Bauchi State, for them to be able to contribute meaningfully to peace processes right from the grassroots. This has been resounded in the composition of the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that are established in these states to address conflict at the grassroots before it gets out of hand. And formally, we have this existing, but without the presence of young people, you know. So International Alert has been able to bring all stakeholders on board and let them know the importance of incorporating youth.
We have Tolu, a youth advocate, in the studio to speak more on International Youth Day and its significance for Nigerian youth. Good to see you, Tolu, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations are in order. As they say, the youth are the engine of any nation. Speak to us about the theme of this 2023 International Youth Day.
So, thank you. It's wonderful being here. So something we know about the youth is the power and engine of any nation. We know that. And concerning the theme of this particular year, the world is an interesting place and is an evolving world. And there comes a need for wisdom to be able to manage all that is going on, you know, as it's transforming. So one of the things I want to speak to first is the need for youth involvement, particularly in wisdom-based knowledge, not just knowledge. Here's what I mean. Wisdom-based in that is action-based, and it's what they can engage. Yeah, it's what they can engage. So I think I'll start just by saying that first.
Well, if we say we're digging deep, I know it's all about the environment, you know, safeguarding our environment. But again, let's bring it back home to Nigeria and talk more about the activities of young people and how much they can also contribute in bettering their society. Do you think we're actually latching, you know, on that opportunity which young people in Nigeria have to offer?
Not as much, because sometimes young people feel like if they're not involved, then they're not as responsible. But I think part of the involvement, the more young people are involved in core decisions in different sectors, then they're able to be more responsible. And then I think that would generally drive a sense of involvement in whatever is going on. The topic is so large and so broad, you know, so addressing particular things. I think responsibility, generally, that's why I'm just addressing it that way. So I think responsibility generally would help in that most of the young people would be able to engage day to day in preserving the environment.
And I see a sense of where you're headed, talking about involvement now. We can also talk about more decision making in our day-to-day living, and as well bring in the youth aspect. Now, we have a new government in place. Specifically speaking, how much of involvement have you seen so far in young people with this government?
I wouldn't say I've seen much, and particularly I have a lot of friends that are involved in one way or the other. A lot of friends that are doing great things. So I would say most of them are in the private sector. Most of the young people I know that are doing great things, they're in the private sector. But I see a lot of support here and there. So I wouldn't say much. I wouldn't say they are much more involved, but I know many young people that are involved one way or the other. But I don't know if it's the government that is putting them there. But most of them, I know that they are getting their hands into what they can get into.
Do you see a transition happening soon? Because many will still say if you're in the private sector, you still also need the same amount of numbers in the public sector or in politics, because decision making will also ultimately come from these who will populate the political sphere. So do you see a transitioning happening anytime soon?
I'm seeing more involvement of young people, yes. Again, like I said, I don't know if the government is leading that now, but I think but I'm seeing more involvement of young people. But I think yes, I don't know to say that the government is leading that now, and I'm not saying the government is not leading that either, but more involvement. So I think there's a good transition happening, generally, overall, yes. In terms of economically, yeah.
At the moment, the trending story has to do with the political logjam in Niger Republic. And, it reminds us of Herbert Hoover in his famous comment where he said, older men declare war, but it is the youth that must fight and die. At least that should worry young people to also. I don't know if you've been given this a thought when you have conversations among young people. Perhaps their thoughts on the issues in Niger Republic.
No, it hasn't come up much in my conversations. Yeah.
So let's close on this. What are the challenges that an average Nigerian youth is dealing with?
Okay, I believe there's a bit of disorientation. In that there's a lot of information because of the internet. Everyone is aware of what is going on in many places. And so that's overload of information and how to sift through. So I think there's a bit of disorientation coupled with the knowledge-based education. That's why I mentioned earlier that wisdom-based in that it's focusing on how can we take action. Once we put that in front, then whatever you're learning, you don't have to go through a long, full cycle before you can implement and then see progress, which will motivate you to continue. So I think by the time we begin to see the results in the little actions we take, that's as young people, I believe that will motivate people to be able to do more. So I would say a bit of disorientation.
And what kind of action?
So, take for instance, if a young person is starting a business, the challenges are a lot, and they're not challenges they're particular challenges that are peculiar to everyone. And it's just a lot, So I believe if we're able to, so you see, with the internet and with AI and with everything that is going on, there's a lot of opportunities blowing out there. So if the system is able to upgrade in such a way that at par, the youth can function with their peers, then there's motivation. That sense of disorientation reduces. And in terms of engaging in business basically, because there's a lot of ideas. But the ideas, of course, they need engine to be able to, flow and bring a result that is sustainable. So,
Tolu, I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.